Kale Podcasts. Rob Sanders.
Some would be entertained by it. Some would be horrified by
Kale Carolina Jackpot Hall.
All would be interested in it.
The Rob and Kale Podcasts.
Let's go.
And welcome into the show. Running a little bit behind today. But I got here, ladies and gentlemen. And I got things that we're going to get into. At the request of Biscuit, who has showed back up for football season. Congratulations on that. We're going to talk about some college future bets that you can get in on. We're going to get into that momentarily. But first, we've got to talk about Deshaun Watson. Yep, and Papa B with the Big Ten way ahead of everybody now. 7 years, $7 billion worth of TV money. At this point, it's monopoly money. Which, by the way, I don't get the whole, who in the hell is going to, seriously, we've talked about this before. College football is a Southern sport. Some jackass has decided, hey, let's market these teams from the Big Ten, the children of the corn teams. Yeah, those guys. And we're going to give them $7 billion. I tell you what, and by the way, I think with that, I think it's without question that there's going to be expanded teams going into the Big Ten. Because as of right now, do you think that's worth $7 billion? Yeah, you've got Southern Cal and UCLA. Congratulations. After that, you've got Ohio State, Michigan, and then what? What in the world do you have to market to me on the football front that I'm going to watch other than Ohio State and Michigan? Think about that for just a second. Anyway, Papa B's right. $100 million for Rutgers and Maryland. By the way, the Calloway's Pick'em Challenge is up. Go and get registered now. Link is in the bio. All right. So we got to talk for a second here about Deshaun Watson, and I want to get your calls on this in just a moment. But here's the thing that I got to go with this. You know, I grew up in the age where Michael Jackson was considered the king of pop. Okay. And I bring this up because Michael Jackson was accused of a lot of things with molesting children, etc. He was never convicted of any of it. He paid a lot of people off. But it comes down to this. The general consensus is that you wouldn't leave your kids with Michael Jackson. And that's kind of where Deshaun Watson is. He's agreed to be suspended for 11 games and fined $5 million after after he came to a settlement with the NFL. His statement says, I'm moving on with my career and my life, and I'm going to continue to stand on my innocence. Just because settlements and things like that happen doesn't mean that person is guilty or anything. I'm sorry, Deshaun. If you agreed to give up $5 million and get suspended for 11 games, you might as well just set the whole damn season. I'd rather sit on my innocence and say, you know what? Let's take these women to court because they're all liars. Everything they've said is a lie. Okay? But he apologized for his behavior from before, which means that he possibly did something, or he just thinks that someone told him to apologize. Either way, if you didn't do anything with these women, why in God's name are you paying $5 million? And why are you agreeing to sit out 11 games? Why are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense. So in my opinion, Deshaun Watson's a heck of a talent, but in the end, something happened where Deshaun Watson felt it was okay to give $5 million away and be suspended for 11 games. In addition to that, he's got the 24 civil lawsuits were settled against Watson. 23 have been settled confidentially. The grand juries has said, hey, there's not going to be any criminal charges. Fine. All of that makes sense. Jay says, Rob, same reason Tennessee paid players to go 5-7. Good point, sir. The reality is, though, is that when we think of Deshaun Watson, it's not going to be the way that people thought of before. Okay? It's not going to be that way. It's going to be Deshaun Watson likes to get his butthole fingered by a massage therapist. That's what people are going to think. It's the same way that we thought about Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah, he had a long career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you know what? The thing we think about was him raping people in bathrooms. It's just the way that it is. So, what was once a shining beacon of light in Deshaun Watson is now crap. It's basically what it boils down to. And the Clemson folks that are defending him, holy shit with all of that. He admitted that he apologized for something, which means that he had to do something. He gave them $5 million. Second to Doug says, yeah. And Mike Vick with the dogs. That's the first thing you think of with Michael Vick. The dogs. Yeah, it's there. Baylor Man says, not the same guy who threw the game-winning touchdown to Renfro against the Gumps. Yeah, there's that too. But Deshaun Watson, with paying this money, you are paying people to shut up and go away, and then hoping that you can revitalize your career with the way that you're going to play on the football field. By the way, when Deshaun Watson actually gets out there for his next regular season game, which should be November 28th, I think, against the Houston Texans, he will be out for almost 2 full seasons. Yeah, it's a mess. And we've talked about this before. What was it? 66 massage therapists in 2 months? DJ Ukulele says, I appreciate Watson for 2016, but he needs to be in jail. If they could have found something where he was criminally wrong, okay. Either way, my opinion of him is he has zero respect for women. Zero. And he thought that he could just buy women that he saw on Instagram. They would come give him a massage and he could do things with them. And that's not going to work. All right, I'm going to fire up the phones here. If you guys want to get on the program, 803-470-2905. Let me get the banner going there for the folks that need it. 803-470-2905. Deshaun should have had some of these Saban nut riders to massage him. Yeah. Yeah, Baylor Man, and that's documented from his Instagram with women that he went after. I mean, there may have been more from other apps. Lord knows Snapchat. We know that he's on Snapchat, or he was at one point from stuff that I read. How did that work? The guy's got issues. And the NFL, man, they are such a corporate cunt. That's the only term that I can use for the NFL. Corporate cunt. Roger Goodell out there, Deshaun's going to move, what was it, the statement? Deshaun has a lot of work to do, and he's going to do that through counseling and everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, I hate to break this to you, but if you are a sexual deviant, counseling will not help you. No, Delta. 66 massage therapists in 2 months. So that's a fact. The guy's got problems. And what's more frustrating is the Clemson people trying to defend him. Fuck out of here with that nonsense. All right, 803-470-2905, 803-470-2905. If you would like to join the program this afternoon, I promised Biscuit. Biscuit says he sounds like a sex addict. Yeah. I don't think it's more of a sex addict. I think but I think it's more of a domination type thing. Like he just wants these women to feel like he owns them, and then he wants them to go away after he exercises whatever demons he's got. So there's that. Anyway, phone lines are open, 803-470-2905. I've got in front of me some college football win totals. We talked about some futures betting. Biscuit asked about that yesterday or the other day. And I said, that might be pretty good. Here are a couple of my picks as far as what I think the over under as far as win goes on win totals. And then I've got some Heisman stuff. My first one, I take Boston College over 6.5. I think Boston College is going to be better than people think. I think their coach is on fire, and they've got Phil Dracovic back and Flowers, the wide receiver. Good 1-2 combination. Boston College is going to win more than 6 games. I think that's an easy over there, in my opinion. I also think Clemson over 10.5. Their schedule is hot dog water. They're going to beat everybody on that schedule by probably 17 points or more, with the exception of they'll be challenged by Notre Dame. Everyone else, they're just going to roll. So Clemson over 10.5. And I also like Arizona over 3. Those are my picks there. For some reason, when I look at Arizona's schedule, I just see more than 3 wins. Jay says, take the over on Ole Miss. That's a good thing to do there, too. But Daddy-O says there's just some things that you can't defend, especially somebody you don't know personally. That's true. Look, Clemson fans, by the way, and I've talked about this, they're the soccer mom Clemson fans that are out there that are like, I just don't believe Deshaun would do this. He's a child of God. Get out of here, man. He admitted he did something. Stop it. All right. Anyway, let's get back to the sorry about that, Captain Trips. All right, so I've got Heisman Trophy odds. Now, when you look up at the top here, the front runner is C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young. I think putting money on Bryce Young is stupid because Heisman voters aren't going to give somebody a Heisman Trophy. They want to keep it after they've already won one. Bryce Young would have to have a season just lead the country in passing. He'd have to have just a perfect season. And a lot of people would have to fall off the wheelhouse there for that to happen. I think that's throwing away your money. Same thing with DJ Uiagalelei. He's at plus 2,500. These guys are safer bets, in my opinion, for the Heisman race. Let me go to the phones here. Hold on. And welcome into the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. This is the Biscuit. Thanks for doing my theme that I suggested yesterday. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, well, let me give you the Heisman. I have 3 Heisman folks that I think are a little bit lower on the platform here, but I think have a realistic shot over some of these guys. The first is Tank Bigsby at Auburn, and he got 220 carries last year for almost 1,100 yards, and I think that he's going to get tons of carries this year. They're going to hand the ball to him over and over and over and over and over again. And I think he's going to be the Auburn offense, which is why he's up there in my list here. And he is at he's down on the list. He's at plus 8,000. Also, Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. I have him high on the list because he's going to be playing at Alabama and they're going to give him the ball a good bit. Averaged over 5 yards a carry last season. And transferring in, I think he's going to have a big year. But my favorite on this, as far as your best money value at plus 6,600, is Malik Cunningham from Louisville. This guy threw for 3,000 yards last season, rushed for over 1,000 yards last season, was responsible for 25 total touchdowns, and only threw 6 interceptions on the year. He is the Louisville offense, and the Louisville schedule, ladies and gentlemen, is absolute hot dog water. It's not very good at all. And if he has a chance, the last 3 games of the season are pretty tough. But if he could show out against Clemson, that's pretty much the time everybody sends their Heisman votes in. If he goes out and has a big game on the road at Clemson, he really could be in the Heisman race. Biscuit, what do you think?
So I'm going to throw one at you. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, and you're going to think I'm going. I can hear my rival fans over here. They're going to laugh at me. But number one on yours, I think you said Tank Bigsby. Yeah, he's a great running back. He's going to get a lot of carry. Auburn has a history of overworking their running backs and getting them injured now, and that does happen a lot. His problem is going to be wins. I don't think he's going to get enough. When you look at Jahmyr Gibbs, Gibbs is a great back. I was really jealous when they got him from Georgia Tech. Bama did. I really wanted Georgia to get him. He's terrific back. He might be the best back in the country. The problem is that he's going to have votes pulled away from him by his teammates.
It's true too.
I think it's going to be really difficult for either Bryce Young or Will Anderson to win. Even though I think Will Anderson's the best player in the country, like a lot of people do. The problem is that the only stat that you have to show is your sack numbers, and he's going to have to exceed what he probably did last year, and that's almost impossible. So that's going to make it hard. And I don't think it's fair. I'm just doing it based on that this is a quarterback, running back, receiver award. So I mean, for the most part, I don't remember who'd you say was the third one.
The third one's Malik Cunningham, threw for 3,000, ran for 1,000. Yeah.
Possible against a smaller school. Not going to get quite. He's going to have unbelievable numbers, and then he's going to have to hope that the rest of the country has kind of down years with theirs. That like someone doesn't really stand out.
But I'm talking about for the money though. Is what I'm saying. He's plus 6,600 for the dollar amount. That's why I have him on the list. But anyway, go ahead. What you got?
No. I'm going to throw one at you. Guys are going to laugh at me, but I'm telling you that don't forget, this is not who I think will win the Heisman. But when you look at the value of what you could get from it versus his opportunities, Stetson Bennett. And I'm not kidding you. And if you look at the amount, the odds against him, you look at what Heisman looks for. He's a quarterback. He's the quarterback of a team that has a shot at the national championship. The two quarterbacks that are ranked, the two teams that are ranked in front of him, both those are 1 and 2 in the Heisman rankings. And I know they're better quarterbacks. I'm not comparing him to C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. I know they're better quarterbacks. But he does put up good numbers. Here's the other aspect of it, though, that people don't think about. He's got a storyline and an underdog storyline behind him where if Georgia has a really good season, and he'll get that kind of underdog fairy tale storyline thing of people backing him, especially if he wins the SEC title against Bryce Young again. Not that Georgia lost in the SEC title, you understand what I'm saying? Beat Bama again. Right. I really think if you putting down $100 to win like 10 grand, is worth it when you look at the value of him on that team. Not that he's the best player in the country. Don't get me wrong. Right. What do you think?
Well, on that front, everybody pretty much has their Heisman ballot in by rivalry weekend. The way that the ballots are set up, generally they may wait until the end of rivalry weekend after his game with Georgia Tech. You may not get folks that are looking at that game with Alabama because I think that your ballot has to be in before the championship games, if I remember correctly. So you may not be able to have that win over Alabama on that front there.
Right.
The toughest game on his schedule is against Oregon. I think he has to come out and play very well in that game, but I don't think he's going to get enough throws. I think Kirby Smart's going to try to play bully ball, and he threw for 287 times last season in 15 games. So he's just not going to get a chance to throw the ball a lot.
To be clear, so they played 15 games. To be clear, he didn't play in 2 of them and only played in part of another. So he had sort of the same thing. When people bring up Hendon Hooker, he was out for a couple. So was he. And here's the thing: his numbers last year were 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Let's say he throws 35 touchdowns and only throws 5 picks and throws for 3,500 yards, and then you have that storyline emerging where this guy is like the Rudy of Georgia. I'm just saying, if that happens, and I know, look, I'm homering here, like this is not, but I honestly did. I didn't go in.
It's not that far-fetched.
I looked at the odds. I looked at the actual odds, and I was like, wow. Well, this is a quarterback on a team that's like has the 3rd greatest odds of winning the national championship. QBs win all the time. He's got a storyline. Everyone in the country knows who he is versus Cam Rising and some of the other guys. I mean, he's got sort of that backing around him in the country. So I just thought that was a little different. It's a nice odds kind of play if you like long odd bets.
Well, he's at plus 12,500. That's where he's at on the
right. So $100 gives you 12,500.
Yep.
I'm just saying, and he's on a good team. And again, he's a quarterback. So I mean, you look at that factor, and just again, not saying that he's the best player in the country, not saying that at all, not even the best quarterback in the SEC. I'm not even saying anything like that, but that's not who usually wins Heisman though. It's guys with storylines or quarterbacks.
It's a value pick.
On good teams.
It's a value pick. I mean, I get it. Yeah, it's not
okay. So
it's
now
not that far fetched.
If you don't mind, I'll jump on to one other thing. I'm always ridiculing my other fellow SEC teams and fans. I'm going to back one here. There's a team in the SEC that that's expected by Vegas to win 7 games. It used to be 6.5. They have a brand new head coach. They're always talented. Vegas expects them to win the second least number of games that they've had in their 25 years. In other words, if they win only the number of games that Vegas has them at, that'll be like their second worst season outside of COVID in 25 years, and that's LSU.
Yeah.
You're giving me a coach that provides discipline on a team that last year basically gave up and still won 6 games and still have some decent wins with the talent level that LSU has, throwing the football to Keyshawn Boutte. I'm willing to take a chance on that team. That's the one that stood out to me as far as over/under wins. I think they're going to win 9 games.
I don't really have any issue with that. I like, and here's one of the things I like about with what Kelly did down there. Miles Brennan was thought of to be like the greatest thing ever at one point. The super senior who played in some big games for them, and then all of a sudden he didn't have a problem cutting bait quick and said, "Hey, I'm going to go with somebody else." And I can appreciate that. If you don't think this is going to be your guy, you got to be the head coach and cut that bait really quick. So I don't have a problem with that at all. I think that's great.
Yeah, and not only that, the other factor with LSU too is they do have one of the best home field advantages in the entire country. I've been there before, and their schedule works out. If they can win the FSU game, get through that, they have an easier schedule. They do go on the road eventually against Auburn, but they could be 5-0 or 4-0 going into their harder part of their schedule, and they play some of those teams, the big teams at home. You know what that crowd is like there when they're actually up and have hope. There is schedules do create situations that are positive or negative for teams during a season. And I think the flow of games getting from easier to harder in their schedule helps them a bit.
Well, I also think that if we go with just the 4- and 5-star tracker, I think they're like number, as far as the amount of 4- and 5-star talent that's on the team, I think their roster ranks like 12th in the country. So
right.
That's from top to bottom. And, it could be uneven, but as far as 4- and 5-star guys that they have on the team, they're 12th in the country overall. The idea of them only winning 7 games is silly to me. It really, really is.
Yeah, I think it is too, because here's the thing too. If you look at it from this perspective, last year they were 6-6. They finished 6-7 after their bowl game, right? But they did beat A&M and some other decent teams. The year before that was the COVID year. They went 5-5. Anytime before then, then they won the national championship. You know how people were talking about how they had a very average era in the teen years?
Yeah.
They never won less than 8 games in that entire span. You have to go back to 1999 to get to a point where they had actually lost or hadn't won at least 8 games in a season. To me, that's a huge selling point. Like, there's no doubt for me. Like, this is my favorite team of the year as far as wins and losses.
As far as you're over and under, I'm right there with you. I think that they are. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't mention them earlier, but yeah, 7 wins is they were at 6.5 too, as you said. It's an absolute joke. They're going to roll and get through that.
Right. And then here's the other part of it. So you had a bunch of teams they were down, and you had a bunch of teams last year that, the Arkansas, Kentucky's, the world that kind of jumped up and won 8-9 games. And now everybody expects all those teams to take another step forward. And that's usually not what happens. Usually those teams take a bit of a step back, and you see the real powers with the talent. And now a good coach moving back up to where they belong, actually, which is in the 9-10 win range. But
I think that
anyway, I won't take too much of your time.
No, you're good, man. I appreciate that, man. You're always welcome. You know that.
All right, thanks, man. Talk to you.
All right, thanks a lot. One other thing with what Biscuit said there, I honestly think that with LSU too, that a lot of teams that are favored over the top of them in the West. I mean, I think that they can match up with Mississippi State. I think everybody and their brothers on this Texas A&M bandwagon, and I'm not buying that. I think they can beat them too. I think they're better than Arkansas. So in the end, I think they can win those 3 games. Now I can't remember who they play in the East. I know they don't have Georgia. They have Florida, obviously, but I can't remember who their other matchup is in the East. But I'm not saying that they're going to be favored to win all those games, but I'm saying those games should come down to a touchdown or less, and they should definitely roll in some of those ends. So there you go. All right, man. Hey, thanks, Biscuit. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, Biscuit joining the program there. 803-470-2905. Aaron Brown says Tennessee. All right. Yeah, go Tigers as you laid your neck on the line. That's not bad. Not bad at all. Jay says, can you start wearing smaller sunglasses while shouting tanning bed? I don't know what that means. He says, I have raccoon eyes. Oh, well, I'm not in the tanning bed. That's my golf tan, sir. My golf tan. So there you go with that. All right, 803-470-2905. 803-470-2905. If you would like to join us here on the program this afternoon. Yeah, we'll have to see how that works out with LSU, but that's definitely, but the crazy thing is when I look at Mississippi State too, Mississippi State, where are they at? Like with all that production that they've got returning, Mississippi State's at 6.5. They could go over too. They really, really could. So yeah, I don't really have any issue with that either. And there was one other one that I was looking at. Oh, North Carolina's at 7.5. I take the under there. I think North Carolina's going to have a down year. And I think Mac Brown's going to retire. But 7.5 for North Carolina, the under is the other safe one there. All right, as our buddy said over there, Baylor, man, we're at 9 days away from college football getting underway. Bunch of preseason games this weekend, by the way. Panthers named Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. I read that. Bless their hearts. They got a starting quarterback that's shorter than I am. See how that works out. All right, well, we'll have to figure that out, what they're going to do. As always, I appreciate you guys joining the show. The Calloway's Pick'em Challenge link is in the show bio. Make sure you get after that. If you haven't liked the channel, go and like the channel at Carolina Jackpot. Just go click like. Holy crap. Go click like. It's simple. All right. Rah says Michigan under 9.5. That might be solid too. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you later on.